This video is about an announcement I've wanted to make since I was a little girl. If you are a patron or a newsletter subscriber, or if you follow me on any other social networks, hint hint, then you probably already know my news. I have a literary agent! I'm beyond proud to announce that I signed with Alana Roth Parker of Laura Dale Literary. This means that I am agency sisters with my close friend Alexa Dawn, whose debut, Brightly Burning, releases next May, as well as the incredible #1 New York Times bestseller Kira Cass of the Selection series. I'm also agency sisters with Sara J. Maas and Julie Dow. It's pretty safe to say that I'm an awesome company. I had a pretty charmed experience querying, so I've been trying to think of how to best talk to you about it. When I was a little girl, researching and obsessively dreaming over how this experience might go for me when I was ready, I never imagined that it would happen the way it has. I want to be thoughtful to a viewer like that and tell the truth while still giving as much advice as I can from my unusual experience. The last thing I'd want would be to be careless to the struggle that querying and publishing is for a majority of writers, especially other marginalized authors. I don't imagine that my career will always be as fast-paced and exciting as it is at the moment, and I'm not going to dismiss the real hard work that I've put into my writing and my career. Please understand that this is a moment that I have been working towards for 10 years. But I do want to acknowledge that I have some pretty incredible mentors and have been very lucky to have friends willing to use their industry connections to make this process a bit more direct than it typically is. So my other big secret that I've been keeping for several months now is that I've been working with Lauren Oliver and Glasstown Entertainment, formerly known as Paper Lantern Lit, to develop a book I'm really, really proud of. I will likely do a separate video all about Glasstown and about how their company and working with them works, but a quick summary is that they are like a plot factory filled to the brim with excellent, experienced professionals who know the industry, the market, and the craft of writing. They come up with book ideas and plots and pair them with talented writers to create awesome books. The simplest term to describe them would be a book packager, but as they are also expanding into filmmaking and sometimes work collaboratively with authors to plot, develop, publish, and market their own books, I thought it best to elaborate. They describe themselves as a 360-degree media and content company, and I agree. My experience with them has been incredible so far. They definitely think big picture and have been so supportive and collaborative with me to make sure that we're not only on the same page for this book, but my long-term career goals as well. I first met one of their editors, the awesome Camilla Benko, author of The Unicorn Quest, when I went to Leviosa last year. Unbeknownst to me, when she returned to work after going to the conference, she told her coworkers about me. They'd been brainstorming ways to bring me into the company for a couple months before my family became homeless. After we lost our house, Camilla reached out to me to ask if it was okay for her boss to email me. Her boss being literary superstar and all-around amazing person Lauren Oliver. Lauren asked for some sample pages to see if maybe they could help me launch my writing career, and it has all sort of catapulted from there. Not a lot happened until after we settled into a new place because we couldn't really focus on writing until then, but these past few months have been very exciting. I was and am still very excited to be working with Glasstown on what I hope will be my debut novel. I feel like I'm very good at coming up with high concept ideas and have a pretty good handle on character and voice, but building a great plot out of those elements is a little bit harder for me. Other writers have described working with Glasstown as like an MFA program that you get paid for. In just a short time, I've already learned so much about structure and how to match the vision in my head with what I want on paper. Anyway, so this is where we return to my agent's story. My story is not the typical querying process because Lauren asked her agent if he would be willing to tell other agents about me. So I had a list of 5 agents who knew who I was and wanted to hear from me. That is not normal. But I was still really scared to send off those queries. You can't face a moment like that, something you've dreamt up for ages, and not be afraid. I sent them off at 6 p.m. the Tuesday before Memorial Day and had my first response within an hour. It was Lana telling me that Alexa had already told her a bit about me, that she loved the concept and my sample chapter, asked if I have any more pages, and if I'd like to talk. She gave me 3 separate times that would work well for her. I think I was in shock, but I told her that I could talk whenever worked best for her, and then I caps lock text screamed to Alexa and Lauren. I was totally aware that the call might not be an offer, but it was still very exciting. The same night, another one of the agents replied asking for a call and another for more sample pages. I just sort of laid on my bed staring at my phone and crying. I am an optimistic but practical person, and I was having a very hard time matching what I'd envisioned this to be to the experience of what was actually happening. I set up the second call before I had even had the chance to speak with the first, and sent off the extra pages to the third agent. He bowed out early the next morning, which I felt was fair because his list was more contemporary focused and my idea is speculative fiction. I was actually happy that he rejected me because that felt a lot more normal than anything else that was happening. It felt good to see that because it made me feel like this was less of a big joke and that the other agents were going to tell me that they didn't actually like me or my book. The morning after I queried, I spoke with Alana, and it was magical. We hit it off instantly. She'd worked at a company like Glasstown before she became an agent, so she had an idea of how to work with one, and she really connected to my concept and my hopes and goals for the future. She was fully on board with my vision of how I'd like future books and my career to go. It felt like talking to a friend, and it was definitely an offer of representation, even though we were so busy chatting, neither of us said those words on the phone. She understood that I needed to hear back from the other agents and speak with them before making my decision. All of the agents did. That was actually the hardest part for me. It's an incredible position to be in, but it's also very overwhelming to have more than one offer. This is also a really important piece to note. Alana was always one of my top picks, but even though I felt so good about her, I knew the smartest decision was to wait at least a week, if not two, to make an informed decision. You never want to make such a big decision without considering all of your options, no matter how exciting an offer or offering agent is. No reputable agent will be mad at you for waiting to accept an offer. In fact, all of the agents that offered to me complimented me for my decision to do so. Any agent that pressures you to make a decision immediately, that's a big red flag. Anyway, though I was excited to speak with everyone, I was also incredibly nervous. When I spoke with the second agent and she told me how much she loved my writing voice, it was just so much. I never imagined how terrifying it is to have more than one incredible person want you. I didn't want to let anybody down. Before the weekend, but after the first two calls, another agent asked me to query him on Twitter. So I did, and then after giving everyone the full holiday weekend, I let all the remaining agents know about my two offers. This was the week before BookCon, so everyone was gearing up for BEA, but still, I got another request for more pages, and the Twitter agent asked to speak. I am so glad I queried him because speaking with him was probably the smartest decision I made in this process. He made my decision so much harder. He was experienced and passionate and so smart. And he reached out to me. He didn't even know about Glasstown until he read about it in my query. I felt just at ease with him as I did Alana, and he asked me great questions. I left that conversation feeling confident and self-assured, and I wasn't sure at all how I was going to make my decision. I made a list of questions, some I'd pulled from conversations I'd had with agents, some that are just common offer questions, and some that I made up on my own. I'm going to link those questions in a blog post in the description because I felt asking these really helped me compare and contrast so that I could make my decision with no doubts. I sent those questions off to all three offering agents and sent a final nudge to the two agents I hadn't heard back from, just in case they did want to chat after all. All three offering agents responded within a day, Alana first as always, asking if I'd like to discuss her answers in another call. Speaking with Alana again was the second smartest decision I made. It reminded me how well we connected after I'd been distracted by all the other awesome agents, and all of her answers perfectly aligned with what I wanted to hear. She even told me that she saw the Twitter agent ask me to query him and that she thought, oh crap. Not because he was a terrible agent, but because she knew how great he was, and she was worried that I'd pick him over her. But she didn't have a single bad thing to say about him, or to sway my decision at all. In fact, she said even more good things about him. I really had no lackluster agents to choose from. Everybody I queried and everyone who offered were at the top of their game, so it really came down to our personal fit and my gut feelings. There was no bad option. If I would have changed anything about my experience, I would have considered the timing more. I sent my first query off right before Memorial Day weekend, and then the next week was a very busy time in industry. It was just a very hectic, busy period, especially with how fast everything moved. The two agents I never got a chance to speak to both apologized afterwards for being super busy, and I do wish that I had had a chance to speak with them, but I'm also really confident in my decision. I have no regrets. I have complete trust in Alana, and she's also super responsive no matter what, so that's a very big plus. The really special thing about choosing Alana, though, is that I followed Kira Cass since she was making Twilight fan videos, and I watched her entire publishing journey in real time. I even have a copy of her self-published novel that I won before the selection was ever published. Kira's channel was what inspired me to make my own YouTube channel, so having the same agent just really feels like bringing things full circle. It feels like it was meant to be. I can say the same thing about working with Lauren and Glasstown. Delirium was the first book that made me start taking writing young adults seriously, so to be working with her on my debut novel is just incredible. I absolutely love Lauren. She's become like a big sister to me, and I am so grateful to have her as a friend and mentor. I am so excited and so proud to be working with these wonderful women. I cannot wait to see what we will accomplish together. And I'm so excited to show you guys my book. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you real soon.